Welcoming back to the program today is Michael Barden, targeted individual. Michael, hello. Welcome back.
Hey, Jason, good to see you again. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and thank you for joining me again. I know you have a lot to deal with. You had your court case, of course, and you shared with us that document from your September 5th, 2001 statewide mass casualty event training. And that was pretty shocking. I've shared that with a lot of the guests we've had on, speaking about 9/11. Of course, it was just the other day, and 9/11 week. It's a huge event, so we're always talking about it. And not to hammer that, but I do want to show it one more time because it was so stunning to me that the image that they would select for the cover of this training event, and you were a firefighter at the time, correct?
Correct. Crash Fire Rescue.
So it was so strange to me that on September 5th, 2001, a mass casualty training event, statewide training event, would picture an image like this just 6 days before those horrendous attacks on September 11th of 2001. So I don't know, in my view, that at least suggests the possibility of foreknowledge on somebody's part. Although we can't necessarily draw that as an absolute conclusion, it's certainly another one of the myriad coincidences related to the attacks of 9/11. But we're not going to talk about 9/11 so much today. We're going to talk about the ongoing harassment that you've experienced as a targeted individual.
Yeah, and it's I just I'll go ahead and tell everybody I'm having a rough day today. I am frustrated. I am discouraged. I'm nervous about this whole thing. I'm scared. And it's been building up. I mean, for years and years now. But it's getting closer to this court date, and I'm really running out of steam. And I'm running out of ideas here. I'm just trying everything I can, and I really appreciate you having me on your show to get the word out about this. And as much as I don't want to make it about me, I do want to talk about this case and what's going on and how I was set up so I can continue to try to help targeted individuals and just freedom in America under the Constitution.
Yeah.
So by me staying out of jail, I'll have that opportunity to keep doing what I'm doing, and that's why they're trying to put me away.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Michael, that obviously it's critically important that you stay out of jail to be able to continue this work. And so what we're going to focus on today is, what does somebody do when you're being targeted and harassed by ex-police officers who seem to be complicit with active duty police officers, or at least aware of what's going on in a seemingly coordinated way? Who do you call? What can you do? How can you protect yourself? It's a very scary situation. But you and I are becoming friends, speaking with each other over Skype. And as a friend, I would offer the advice of, do your best to stay calm, because even just in watching your videos on the Michael Barden YouTube channel, which I would definitely encourage people to go to if they want to learn more about Michael's experience as a targeted individual. He's got a lot of evidence-based videos there. And I also want to bring it to people's attention that you have got a Patreon page, and for some reason it doesn't seem to become, oh, there it is. And people can support you by going to patreon.com/Michael J. Barden. You've just started the page, and people can definitely join you there and become patrons. You've got additional videos on the Patreon page. But I would just say that, when I watch the videos, I can see it's obviously very frustrating, and it's easy for me to say, sitting here in an apartment in New York City while you're being pursued by gang stalkers and cops. But I think it's very important for you to do your best to remain calm. I think a primary part of their plan is to stress you out, because they know you're not going to think as clearly, you're not going to act as clearly. And what I observed was, it seems like they're just trying to push you to the point where you snap, you do something that can get you arrested, or you do something in front of the police or in your car or whatever that results in them having an excuse to throw you in jail.
Exactly, 100%. And that you described what so many targeted individuals describe what happens to them. And this is a psychological operation of antagonization. They try to, and I'm borrowing this term from a guy on YouTube called the Iceman Cometh, who's a TI. He said they basically try to pester you to death.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing, every single day, these different scenarios that you deal with, and over time, yeah. And a lot of times, what they do is they get you in the fight or flight mode, to where your cortisol levels raise. And the human body isn't made to have your cortisol levels raised on a daily basis. This is something that's supposed to happen every once in a while. That adrenaline comes up and gives you the energy to get out of there or to fight. Once your cortisol levels have been raised every single day like that, over and over and over, the human brain can't process information and make decisions like it normally does.
Huh.
And that's definitely one way that they do get targeted individuals. They wait till they're completely distraught, antagonized, to a certain point, and that's when they'll do one of these setups or some major event when you're at your very worst, your weakest point, when you're not going to make the right decisions, when you're not going to be thinking clearly, you're tired from the sleep deprivation, and that's how they get so many people. And the thing I think about.
Take your time, Michael.
Every day. I think I was going to do this, I'm sorry. But I think about the countless people that are in prison, in mental facilities, on psychotropic drugs, being held from their families and their right to freedom because of this program and what they've done to these people. They're a number, they're like cattle. They're using these people that don't have a lot of capital. They don't have a lot of a big network, a big family network. They don't have resources. And these are the kind of people that they seem to target outside of the whistleblowers and the people with secret clearances and talking about 9/11. That's just one group of people that are targeted. The other group of people that are targeted are just isolated people. They can't fight back, so they're easy prey. And they make money off of targeted individuals, through these compartmentalized groups that have, and that's a good segue here. I wanted to talk about that.
How do they make money from a targeted individual?
Okay, good question. And the way I look at it, the conclusion I've come up with, and a lot of other targeted individuals have come up with, is these compartmentalized groups bid for government contracts. If you can get a government contract and secure that, you can have a good business. Government contract is where you want to go if you own a business. A lot of times they pay pretty well.
Huh.
And if you can grow these compartmentalized groups, more and more government contracts can be made.
That's so interesting that you say that, Michael. And I don't mean to distract from your case, but I think a lot of people know, you even said that I am a targeted individual, and I think you might be right. What you just said about government contracts, there's a certain apathetic CIA troll, self-proclaimed apathetic CIA troll, who has gone as far as writing a fictional book that he believes describes the planning and execution of a bomb hoax in the port of Charleston. Now, it's interesting because this individual has told us that he has contracted with the Department of Homeland Security, that he has contracted with the NSA, and he wrote a book about this event, which he boasted he would send to key leaders in Congress and people in the Department of Homeland Security, specifically to open an investigation and ostensibly have him do some kind of study about threat vectors coming from social media. So setting aside any more complex motivation that might exist, it certainly stands to reason that this individual might very well have orchestrated this event or in an opportunistic fashion tried to manipulate the occurrences of this event for his own financial gain, first in selling a book, and secondarily with trying to get a very lucrative contract with the Department of Homeland Security. It's interesting to note that this individual's brother was the key source of information in this alleged bomb hoax. I knew nothing about it. I was deceived by these individuals. I was put under psychological stress. I was led to believe that the possible outcome of this incident in the port of Charleston could have a more detrimental public effect than 9/11. So I was put under considerable mental duress after months where the brother of the author of this book spent a lot of time trying to gain my trust, trying to convince me that the individual who shared the intelligence with him was a trusted military veteran, when in fact we've learned he was an FBI provocateur, lied to me about being a Vietnam veteran, and they seemed to be working in concert to convince me that there was an imminent danger and I should broadcast this to the public at large and alert people and alert the Coast Guard. That's very interesting that you mentioned that.
It's all about these government contracts, and actually that, man, you should put that out there. Everybody I know in the military that hears about stolen valor is all over that, and they go after it. That's what that's called. That guy said he was in the Army in Vietnam, and if he wasn't, that's stolen valor. You don't do that. It's a felony.
It's a crime.
It's a felony, and it should be. But yeah, just to go back to the government contracts, there are so many government contracts that are hidden, and I mean, this is an educated guess. I can't prove anything because so many of these contracts are classified due to national security. You know, these surveillance contracts.
Right.
And I think what they've done is, I'm starting to get some feedback here, but what they've done is they have used this classification and these national security letters that they give to businesses and government entities, and what they're doing is they're making contracts with some of the government entities and some of the corporations that install these gang stalking or targeting type tactics into their daily job duties. So in order to say UPS, FedEx, just those are two I hear a lot of people talk about that they get perped by, and that's just one of our words that, you know, that they'll be sitting out in front of their house. So say there's a UPS guy and he's making $60,000, $70,000 a year, doing okay, driving for UPS, and they say, hey, this is part of your job duty. We need you to, once a day, we need you to go park in front of this certain address and just sit there and let your motor run for a while. And that guy has no idea why he's doing this. And he doesn't know that 15 other cars have done this throughout the day. So he's part of the compartmentalized targeting program and doesn't even know it. There's people at the grocery store that are involved in this, people at the post office, all of these normal, everyday businesses that you might interact with. Targeted individual will experience some kind of either bad service or gaslighting, some weird incident that shouldn't have happened at that business, and then that business probably thinks, well, that's the only thing going on. We did that to that person. It was part of national security, so we did it. And have no clue that that's what a targeted individual's life consists of every single place they go. You'll get lucky every once in a while. You'll make it into a business that's not involved in this, and you can tell right away that people act normal. They're friendly. They're, have a normal conversation with you, and that's really nice. When that happens for a targeted individual, when you get some reality, because you're basically living in an artificial reality and not right. Like holograms are being shot all around you. Although I have heard a couple stories of that happening to a targeted individual also. But
I don't know that that's so. See, the thing that I want to do is I want to stay focused on things that we can prove or things that are easy for people to believe. Like you just said something very important, the compartmentalization. Now, definitely the example of someone in the UPS truck, I don't think it's as likely that someone would take a UPS driver aside and say, hey, this is national security, we need you to do X, Y, and Z. maybe they would just say, hey, go to this address every day. They have a contract with us that they want UPS waiting there for their packages, and just wait there every day for an hour. And this guy says, okay, I'll wait for packages. He's there texting his wife, his girlfriend, playing games on the phone, watching TV, whatever. He has no idea what's going on because it's that compartmentalized. It's way easier to convince someone to do something that seems innocuous than to presume that there's this giant network of conspiratorial individuals. Although I'm not saying that doesn't occur, I have a feeling, you know, we were talking with Cody Snodgrass the other day and Ole Damagard about compartmentalization in intelligence operations, and it's the key to having these vast, you know, complex things take place without anybody sort of blowing the operation. Another thing that we spoke about was this thing called InfraGard. Have you heard of this, Michael? Did we talk about this?
We did, yeah. We talked about the lady that was working at the concession stand in Vegas and was part of InfraGard, and after 9/11 it changed. She said, "Nah, I don't want any more. I don't want any more of this."
What do you think of this picture they're showing, which shows downtown and conspicuously does not show either the original World Trade Center or the new World Trade Center? Let's see if we can get back to that image. Look at that.
Yeah.
It just shows the skyline without anything there. It's weird, isn't it?
It is. It's a little odd. I'm not sure why they would do that. Now, talking about InfraGard, I've got a couple more for you might not even heard of.
Hit me.
The Citizen Corps, we might have talked about the Citizen Corps. Citizen Corps is FEMA. FEMA runs the Citizen Corps. They're also involved in this gang stalking and domestic Stasi surveillance. But the one that I found that was the most interesting to me was the FBI SSG. You ever heard of the SSG?
I have not. I'm going to Google it right now.
It is amazing because we have a test here. Well, I don't know if it's worldwide, but it's the MMPI, the Minneapolis Multiple Personality in something. I can't remember that last part of the acronym. That if you take this test and you say people are following me, they tell you you're crazy. Yet we have on the FBI website, I should have found that and sent it to you before, but yeah, it's right there on their website. There's jobs available for the SSG, the Special Surveillance Group.
Yeah, look at that.
They send civilians to Quantico, Virginia, FBI headquarters for 9 weeks, and they train them in foot surveillance and vehicular surveillance. So they say right there on their website that they're hiring people to basically stalk Americans. And yeah, actually it is here on their Wikipedia, the link right there, surveillance
jobs.
Career FBI jobs.
Oops. Sorry, let me go back to that.
It's okay. So they're training these people to carry out organized stalking and harassment. They send them out for 9 weeks, and they come back and they start their job basically.
Not found. Huh.
Well, imagine that.
Well, that's the Wikipedia link. Maybe we can find something more current in Google. But this is fascinating, Michael. I don't think most people are aware of this. And it stands to reason that they would be not only foot surveillance, but they would want cyber intelligence operatives. And the same individual who wrote that book has been busily spoliating evidence of him assembling a citizens' cyber militia. Now, here we are, careers in surveillance. That's interesting. Let's see what it says. To keep the nation safe and take on both domestic and international threats, the FBI relies on a constant stream of intelligence gathered by a team of surveillance professionals. Surveillance professionals work alongside case agents to discreetly gather intelligence in support of ongoing counterterrorism, foreign counterintelligence, and criminal investigations. Because of the nature of their work, candidates interested in pursuing a surveillance career must be comfortable in the following situations: traveling domestically on both operational and training missions, working in a team environment outside of typical ordinary office setting, working nights and weekends as necessary, adapting to an ever-changing work environment, working with photography and other electronic equipment. Surveillance professionals can practice either mobile surveillance or fixed surveillance. Mobile surveillance entails gathering intelligence and following subjects on foot,
Right there.
in a vehicle, on public transportation, or otherwise as needed. Fixed surveillance entails gathering intelligence in an office or indoor setting using technical equipment.
So those are the people right there that were probably messing up our first show.
It's possible.
In my opinion. But these, I mean, they say it right there. They work 24/7. They follow people on buses, in their cars, on foot. This is one of the gang stalking groups, one of the organized stalking and harassment groups that they say is for national security, but they've turned our community into a Stasi police with technology. You know, these people will be my girlfriend and I will be in the grocery store. There's people with their cell phone in their pocket with the camera facing towards us or in their purse. And as we go by, they'll just, like a robot, they'll turn their body and make sure the camera just stays on us the whole time. And this isn't just like, oh, it happened a couple times throughout the last year. It's every single time we go in somewhere. They've got the phone in the pocket or in the purse, and they make sure that it's constantly aiming at us. And it's, you know, after so many times, no longer a coincidence. It's a pattern. And this is what these people are doing. And this is only one small part of being a targeted individual. There are so many different parts of this. It's a small part of it.
Now, Michael, you've been in the military. And of course, the FBI is closer to a military appointment than working at, you know, some regular office, in that there's a clearly defined hierarchy. People respond to orders, and people in the FBI don't generally break away and do whatever they want because they think it's the right thing to do. They have to strictly follow orders, and they're indoctrinated through their training. We've heard Robin Gritz say that she feels a plane hit the Pentagon because she was sent there to pick up plane pieces. Now, I don't immediately assume that that means that Robin Gritz is involved in a cover-up of 9/11. I'm more inclined to believe that Robin Gritz was a part of this FBI machine where, from her college graduation or whenever she went into FBI training, she was indoctrinated to believe that the FBI was this benevolent thing, and if they tell her, go over there and pick up airplane parts, and she picks up a piece of a missile, I don't think Robin Gritz is an expert at what's an airplane and what's a missile. She's told it's airplane parts. She picked up parts. She thinks it's airplane parts. So I could see how someone says, I'm going to go work for the FBI and stop a domestic terrorist. They go through this 9-week training about how important they're going to be, how they're fighting for freedom, how they're working as a civilian to protect their family, their neighbor, their country, God, all this type of stuff. They appeal to people on a very deep psychological level. And then when they say, that guy, Michael, he's a domestic terrorist, go surveil him, the person doing that work would have no qualms about it at all.
You're 100% correct on that. I mean, this sounds like what you are talking about right now sounds exactly like conversations that we have had over and over and over. You know, these people are giving, that's part of the slander campaign. You know, they make up lies, and they I don't know if you've heard of that there's the noise campaign.
Well, I've experienced it. They put it out all over the internet. They say I'm this, that, and the other thing, and then you get a slew of people who want to do whatever they can to shut me down.
Exactly. Because they've been told you're the bad guy. They don't do their own research. They don't listen to the shows. They just take the information they've been given and go forward like a robot, like a zombie. And, you know, that's why we all need to keep getting this information out to these people, and why we're being suppressed so much to get that information out, because they don't want these people to get the real definition of what they're doing.
The more people know, the more difficult it is for them to do it. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why it's so important for Crowdsource the Truth viewers to subscribe to Michael's YouTube channel. Just search for Michael Barden on YouTube. And it's also a good idea to go and visit Michael on patreon.com/Michael S. Barden. You can become a patron of Michael's and help him. He's working very hard to educate us. I mean, even right now, this is a fascinating conversation. And I also want to reiterate to everyone, you and I aren't getting on the phone for hours at a time. The extent of our phone calls and emails outside of the interviews that we've done have really been limited to just scheduling, logistics, what are we going to talk about? We haven't gone into any of these details. So the things that you're discussing with me here on these interviews, this is the first time I'm hearing them. And you're right. I am being targeted. I know some of the individuals that are doing it. My harassment is taking place more online, disruption of my business, the introduction of these really weak lawsuits that have now been basically shut down in the case of Robert David Steele by his seemingly incompetent lawyer admitting in a court document that they've committed charity fraud with the Unrigged campaign. And in the case of David Swigert, it's been knocked out of South Carolina by a judge who read it and obviously agrees with me that it's a totally illegitimate case that he's brought.
Yeah, and they're trying to slow you down, keep you preoccupied with all of this other stuff, put you in fear that you're going to lose all of your money. You're going to
lose my apartment,
everything. They lose everything completely. And for the normal person that goes to work 9 to 5, comes home every day, that doesn't have to go through something like this, it's hard for them to wrap their head around that somebody would take this much time and effort and capital to go after one person just because they're putting out some information and observing the First Amendment.
And frankly, Michael, this type of campaign, whether it's you or I, when they put out so much information on the internet, as we've seen individuals like Manuel Chavez do, they put it out there to the extent that if you Google my name, or I don't know about you, but you're going to get this really unflattering, albeit untrue, information. So if I were to go apply for a traditional job, that's damaging because a potential employer could Google me, see these fake stories put out by irresponsible liars like Manuel Chavez, Dean Fougere, and that stuff stays there and it can damage me. So it really should be a crime what these guys are doing. But let's focus now on your case because I really want you to share the information and I want to brainstorm with you as to how people might be able to help you. And I mean, you've also told us about, what's your eBay store called again?
It's called Hats Around the World. Just Google Hats Around the World, all one word. It should be the first thing that pops up. It'll say eBay stores, and then you can click on that and just go into the store and search through 15, almost 16,000 items we have in our store now. And it's not all just hats. We've got the vintage and antique black and white photos and different other collectible and antique kind of things, but just mostly hats. Yep. It's
now, did you see any uptick at all with the when we mentioned it last time?
Yeah, we had the day of the interview, we had a little bit better day than normal, and then the day after we had a little bit better day than normal. But then the last few days have been pretty low. But that I believe that store is also managed or constricted at certain times where maybe people can't get to my store. Or
I'm having a hard time finding it. So you just say Hats Around the World.
With no spaces. Hats Around the World, no spaces, maybe even space eBay.
Okay, yeah. I put in eBay Hats Around the World.
Not coming up.
Not coming up. Let me see here. Let's go to eBay. Maybe I'm typing it wrong. But I do want to encourage people to go to eBay, and if they're in the market for a vintage hat, you should certainly consider buying one from Michael's store. It's so let's just, if I search on eBay for Hats Around the World.
And I appreciate you doing this. I don't want it to come across like I'm on here just to promote my business or to try to get money. But
you didn't ask me to do this. I can't get it to come up.
Okay, I'll find the link, and then maybe I will.
Well, what if I do it as all separate words? Hats Around the World.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've always looked it up. Just Googled it, Hats Around the World, space eBay, and then it's usually the first thing that pops up there.
I may have a typo here. Because what happens is whenever you and I get on the call, the computer slows down more than usual. And so, like, typing is not happening in real time. It screws me up a bit.
Yeah, it happens to me quite a bit, too. It lags.
Okay, I think I found you here. I see a hat.
You should see the stuff my girlfriend's computer does. It's amazing.
Yeah? What type of stuff?
Oh, just we'll be watching something, an informational video. The computer will just go black screen, turn off. It'll start playing other videos. It'll be sitting there by itself, and the songs will start playing.
It's not bringing you up, man. This is some seller GK. That's not you, right?
No.
What is going on? Hats around the world. Huh.
Yeah, see, now I just looked it up, and it's the very first thing here.
What did you do? You just went on Google?
Google, hats, HATS, space eBay. And
space eBay. Let me try that. Let me make sure I have that. I mean, the search is going so slowly. I haven't done a speed test today, but you and I were comparing. Here we go. I've got it now. I must have been putting in a typo by mistake. Sorry to take so much time on that, everyone, but I do want people to support Michael. Go to eBay. If you just type one word, hats around the world, into Google, you're going to get it, and you'll know that these are hats from Michael, because when you go onto eBay and you look at the seller information here, it will say hats around the world. He's got close to 10,000 sales, 99.7% positive feedback, so you know you're going to get a good quality hat from a guy who really deserves our support. Sorry about that, Michael. Let's get back to the videos and all that stuff.
I mean, money's tight. We're worried about the bills, and you know, every little bit helps. And I wanted to mention too, a few people messaged me through eBay saying, "I saw you on Jason's show. I wanted to help out. Thank you for what you're doing." And that was. I appreciate it.
It's the least I can do, Michael. And of course, if people don't want hats, there's always patreon.com/Michael J. Barden. And so let's get now to the video. You shot a video of actually being gang stalked. Should I run that video right now?
Yeah, let me just kind of give an introduction to this
real
quick. So in the first week of December, I filmed a police officer in this same store that was doing what the street theater direct conversation on me. Pulled into the store at the exact same time that I pulled in, went in, they were doing their typical thing that they normally do. And I got my camera out, I filmed her, and I questioned her about gang stalking and targeted individuals, what's going on. She laughed at me, she told me she knew about targeted individuals and that they were investigating one, but he just died the day before, and this weird conversation. And I uploaded that onto YouTube, and then this day here that we're about to look at was on January 4th, almost 3 weeks later, exactly after that.
Okay, so let me hit play on this here.
And they had been pulling up to me in traffic, yelling things at me. I cover it in this video, but they were yelling things at me out the window. Well, I'll just say everybody's rolling down the window, yelling "faggot" at me or something. So I don't know if it's that white.
BGB0995, and then no, I'm backing out. And then we got.
I think I backs out even though I'm coming around the corner.
033 ATC company.
So I was trying to get this guy's license plate and read what's on the side of his truck because I wanted to give some of this information to a private investigator, see if they could link these people together, and I could have some kind of evidence as what these people are doing. But these people were 100% for sure a group of not.
Yeah, let's go, motherfucker.
Yep.
So you're following the guy.
Let's see if I could read the side of his truck there.
Oh, I'll just do a little research on some gang stalkers. You ever heard of that?
Gang stalkers?
Yeah, go look it up.
Why, what's a gang stalker?
Somebody that you might be.
Give me that, might be?
Yeah, look up gang stalking. Gang stalking, yeah.
Heard of that. What is that?
Okay, notice at this point right here where I say I'm doing some research on some gang stalkers.
Now, Michael, I find it strange that the guy would even engage in conversation with you while he's driving in your car. I think that most people would probably just focus on driving and be like, what? Leave me alone and keep driving.
Yeah, I didn't have my camera aimed at him. I didn't but nothing. I was just driving next to him, and I was reading the side of his truck. I had my windows down already. He rolled down his window and said, "What's up?" You know, like he wanted to start a conversation with me, to engage me, and then get me to the point where he could say the same thing that had been said to me over the last month in businesses, in traffic, to try to trigger me.
I got to tell you, Michael, the last thing I would want to do while driving on the highway is engage in a conversation with another driver, particularly one that just sped up right next to me. I would like sort of look at him and ignore him, slow down, speed up, get away from him. I wouldn't be speaking with him.
Yeah, that would be a normal reaction.
Okay, so you explain it a bit more here in your YouTube video, and then I'll go ahead to the, okay, here's what happens next, basically.
Do some research. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I called Bill when he just called me a fag. Either.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Yep, I was angry. So I yelled at him, and right here is when he pulls the gun out of his window.
So he's right next to you, right? We
Right.
can't see that. Whoa. What is that, a shotgun? Oh, that's his arm.
That's his arm coming out the window, and he's holding some kind of automatic pistol.
That's crazy. Well, I guess it's possible that people who have automatic pistols in their car might, in fact, engage in conversations with people on the highway. So you're turning around
Yeah, actually, yes, I am making a U-turn. I'm just going back to my house.
to get away from him.
Yeah, you'd get away from him. And I thought that he had just kept going.
Right. So you're calming down now. He pulled out a gun. You've lost your appetite for conversation with this guy. Is that it?
Okay, this
Yeah,
part here, notice how
No, actually, there's more here. Actually, you can fast forward through this part if you'd like.
I turned around and started going back to my house because
So, okay, so you basically made a U-turn there on the highway, thought the guy had continued on. You're basically over with that particular encounter in your own mind.
Correct. I was going back home where my kids were sleeping, get back to work. I'd already been working for about an hour that morning, and I just took a break to go get my
What
coffee.
time of day was that?
This happened. I left my house, actually. I started the recording this video at exactly 4:44
Early.
a.m. I would get up pretty early and get my day started. You know, I have a lot to do. So, but yeah, at this point, I'm heading back to my house. My adrenaline's going. I'm trying to process what just happened, and just turning into my neighborhood here, going back home.
And now later, this perp says that you followed him, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah,
he's
he said-
obviously following you. How would he possibly know where you live?
Exactly. How would he get right to my front door? But you see, there's nobody in front of me.
Yeah.
There's nobody on the road. This guy was saying I'm chasing him and aiming a gun at him.
Bizarre.
So I get down here around this little roundabout here. And I'm driving the speed limit. You know, I'm not trying to get away from anybody. I'm just driving. It's 25, I think, in the neighborhood here. So I'm just cruising along, going home, minding my own business, thinking I'm going to get back to work. And then I get about halfway down the street here, and this guy pulls up behind me, and with his yellow and white rotator lights on, like he's pulling me over in his construction truck. I think I talked over. I think I talked over what I said there. I said, "Oh, you're gonna follow me to my house, huh?"
I heard it.
Oh, okay. So I pulled over here in front of my mailboxes, and I'm not sure why I pulled over right there. I just didn't want to pull into my driveway so the guy would know where I live.
And you have a gun with you at this point. You're a licensed gun owner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all my firearms were registered in my name when I had them. I've been trained with a firearm. I have a ribbon on my uniform, actually, from the Air Force. It says I'm an expert with small arms. Which I'm not an expert with small arms. I'm just a good shot with the A4, the M16, or the M4, M16.
But you've got more firearms training than the average person walking around. And of course, Arizona is an open carry or concealed carry even state.
Constitutional carry, yeah. It's one of the reasons I wanted to move here. I thought, man, this place is still America, home of the free. concealed carry. You don't have to wear a motorcycle helmet if you don't want to. You should, but you know, you have the
I
right.
don't recommend that.
Yeah, I'd never get on a bike without a helmet. But I mean, you have the option. You have some freedom. There's not so much regulation that. And
Okay, so that's all for the video of that exchange, right?
yeah. So I stopped it right there. I didn't want to play too much and put it on YouTube in case I have to use this for my court case. But basically, what I did there, I hopped out of my truck. I was going to hop. There's a fence right there, and the neighbors' houses. And my first thought was, okay, it's fight or flight. I'm going to take off. I don't want to get in a gunfight with this guy in front of my house or at all, you know. And I decided I was going to run, and I was getting ready to start to hop the fence and just hop a couple neighbors' houses, maybe knock on somebody's door, ask for help, ask them to call 911 or call 911 myself. And for some reason, something clicked in my brain. I said, no, you can't run. And then this guy started pulling forward. All I could see was the headlights of his truck right around the corner. He was parked around the corner. So I could see the headlights of his truck and then those yellow and white lights flashing. And then they started moving forward. And I thought, oh, man, this guy's coming after me. He's pulling around the corner. He's going to start shooting at me. So I got back in my truck and I hightailed it through the neighborhood. And by the time I got to the other side of the neighborhood, I didn't see any police in the neighborhood driving through. Once I got to the other side of the neighborhood, it was like they had the neighborhood cordoned off. And I just thought, okay, this could be, for me, this guy could have called on me. They've been doing stuff to me every single day. You know, your mind does start to go there after you've been put in these weird situations every single day.
But at this point, what would he have called the police about? You pulled up next to him and were speaking to him on the highway.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, okay, I knew that the police knew that I had firearms in my vehicle because I did a little experiment. Actually, that's what from this video that I uploaded of the police officer, questioning the police officer. Whenever I would leave my house without my firearms, I'd get to a store. There'd be no police, no ambulance, no fire truck parked there when I was waiting or when I arrived. When I would put my firearms in my vehicle, anywhere I would go, there'd either be somebody where I was going waiting in the parking lot, or there would be somebody pulling in at the exact same time I went in. And I kept trying this for months. I'd say, I'm going to leave my gun home today. Go out and see what happens. No police presence.
How could they know?
Well, this might be where it's hard for some people to believe some of this stuff. But when you're a targeted individual, you get no privacy. I'm surveilled in my home 24/7. Private conversations that I have with my girlfriend here in the house, there's no phone around, there's no computer around. That information will be repeated to us later in public. I'll give you an example of this. I don't know how they do this. I don't know if there's cameras in the house, if there's thermal imaging devices, if what they use.
TV, smart TV has a camera in it, your laptop, your phone.
Yeah, everything. But just one example, and this is kind of embarrassing for me, but whatever, I don't care. I've got my eyebrows get a little out of control sometimes, so I went in my bathroom and I was plucking my eyebrows. Nobody else is home, kids aren't home, I'm by myself, and I pulled some of the stragglers out of there. And I go out that day, and one of the street theater skits they do, I'm out running some errands, I stop in a Carl's Jr. I get up to the line, I'm looking at the menu, and the two cooks back there start this really loud conversation. And I notice that they're talking louder than normal. And the guy looks at the other guy, and it's like a B movie actors. The guy looks at the other guy and goes, "Hey man, would you ever pluck your eyebrows? I'd never do that. Only fags do that. Only gay people pluck their eyebrows. What? You know?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're right, man. Only fags do that." And this is I'm in Carl's Jr. in a store, and this is during the time that I was continually being called gay. You know.
Do you go to Carl's Jr. frequently to the extent?
No, never.
So
I had to go to Target.
Plant that information with these Carl's Jr. guys.
So the people that are involved in this and gang stalking, it seems like they use their cell phone and they have some kind of app, either like with a GPS locator. So like when the targeted individual comes into an area.
Aha. They have operatives there.
Kind of like zone defense in football. You know, they don't drive all over town. They play their area. When somebody comes into their area, they get on their phone. There's some information that they read on their phone real quick to talk
Maybe
about.
A picture of you.
yeah, picture of you. That's why they're constantly taking photos of you in the grocery store and video to have a current photo.
Michael, I'd like to share something odd with you that happened many months ago when I was working with George Webb. Actually, when we came back from the interview that we did with Dr. Corsi at his home, George was driving, and George was frequently on the phone and texting while driving and communicating with people. Anybody who's been around him sees that. And when we got to my apartment and parked on the street, we got out of the car, and a woman who was, I guess supposed to be a homeless person coming up to us, New York City, you're frequently having random individuals engaging you in conversation, asking for money, sometimes just saying things that make no sense. So this woman, who was allegedly a homeless woman, however, she smelled freshly bathed and perfumed. She had a brand new Bernie Sanders hat on. It was a black woman, had a brand new Bernie Sanders hat on, new looking clothing, and came right up to me and started speaking to me in a way that, I don't remember exactly what she said, but what you're talking about with this heightened level of cortisol, this heightened sense of urgency, this constant adrenaline, this constant push, that's exactly what George was always doing.
Yeah, it's and that lady that you're describing sounds almost every single targeted individual that's watching this right now or going to watch this is sitting there going, "Oh, that's a perp for sure." That's they have these people pose as homeless people on, like, if you're having financial troubles, when you drive through town, you see somebody with a sign on the side of the road. When I first moved here to Arizona, I didn't see any of that. But I start talking about having financial troubles, and then I see 30 people with a sign, about to lose my home, about to lose my job. They'll walk up to the car, they'll start conversations with you and start saying weird stuff. They might mention something that you just talked about. And these people are gang stalkers. They're paid operatives, whatever you want to call them. They got this job somehow, and I don't know if it's through government or through some corporation or organized crime, maybe all converged together, but they're getting this information and they're getting some kind of compensation to do this.
Well, and certainly someone who's working in a fast food restaurant, you can basically automatically presume that they're not exactly swimming in cash, and so an opportunity to earn some more money. So perhaps an out-of-work mind hacker or an out-of-work sanitation worker who, when I interviewed him, tried to help him get a job. These people are the perfect candidates for this type of job because they've kind of got nothing to do. And we see all these people who, I'm very clear that I've made YouTube my job, and interviewing people and doing shows is what I spend all day preparing and doing, and I've been appealing to the crowd to sponsor the show on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, because this is my source of income. But when we see people who are making these videos all day, every day, who don't have clear alternate sources of income, and sometimes are even lying about their income. I've done a pretty extensive review of the top grossing Patreon creators, and whether those people have 40,000 sponsors or 300 sponsors, the average that I've found is between $4 and $6 per sponsor per month. But then I noticed that people like George Webb are up at $12.90 per month. And people like Manuel Chavez are up to 15 or even more per month. So I wonder, is someone finding a way to funnel money to these YouTubers? Like, that is a huge difference from the average. Yeah. And I sampled, over a dozen Patreon creators to come up with that $4 to $6 average. And just, speaking logically, I don't think most people are shelling out tons of money on Patreon. It's, it's nice. The sponsors are generous, of course, but $5 seems to be the average amount. So I see these gross differences, and I wonder, where does the money come from?
And that could be very well where it's coming from outside. They say, well, this part of our organization will donate to your Patreon channel, and that way there's no, we're just donating to your channel. Yes, but it's a payment. And we've also heard that these people are paid with gift cards.
Yes.
And the way they do it is through William Patrick Cox, a private, undesignated business out of Florida that is run out of a home, and a lot of people have linked have linked these cards, the gift cards, back to these people. They're getting all this contract money, buying all of the cards and passing these cards out. You don't have to have an ID. You don't have to use your name, any kind of identification to use a gift card. So if you get a $100 gift card to Home Depot, you get one for Lowe's, you get one for fill in the blank, all these different places. You could get everything you need in your life.
Well, you could get a MasterCard gift card that's just a credit card, a debit card that you could use anywhere.
Yeah, and that's so that's kind of where we've gone to with that. That's part of how some of these people are being paid. People that aren't government employees, the people that are full-time handlers or just people that work in some of these government organizations, we believe are paid by GS pay scale. Just like my mom was a GS 13 or 14 when she was in the government. Some of these people start out at like GS 9, making government pay scale.
Yeah, and we might recall the absurd phone call with Douglas Gabriel, where he seemed to indicate that he felt that George Webb was a GS-15 or something like that. I have no evidence beyond what that guy said, and I find most of what he says to be ridiculous, but this is a private detective report. And
that's Karen Stewart, right? That's my friend.
William Patrick Cox.
Yeah, yes, that's where I got this information from, actually. Karen Milton Stewart, former NSA linguist for 28 years.
Huh. So on the surface, Lockheed Martin appears to be an above-board company. Below the surface, it's the real story of how they're masterminds of gang stalking, etc. Well, obviously, Lockheed Martin is a huge military-industrial contractor.
Yeah.
And we've heard about how James Comey has worked for Lockheed Martin. And, these are the guys that are in the business of making and selling bombs to drop on people. So when bombs explode, they're very happy. And it would stand to reason that they want to play a role in controlling the flow of information to control what people think and feel about, let's say, what's going on in Syria. If everybody in America thinks Syria is evil and needs to be bombed, Lockheed Martin is selling a lot of bombs.
Correct. And a lot of other things. A lot of surveillance, I believe, technology. So I've got personal ties to Lockheed Martin as well. If you remember me talking about my dad actually worked for Lockheed Martin Skunk Works.
Wow. But why would that make them want to target you?
It could go way back to my childhood. There's different events in my childhood that seem very, very odd that I can probably talk to you about on another show because there's a lot of details. But
and we are running out of time here, Michael. I'm sorry that we only have an hour, but I've got kind of a really packed day. We've got the intelligence assessment with Kevin Shipp coming up later, only on Patreon. But I think you and I are definitely going to continue these broadcasts because you're sharing a ton of interesting information, and I really don't think that most people are aware of this.
No, it's so deep that it's, people don't have the time in the day to just go research all this stuff, so they need, they need to hear it from us. So that is good timing, though. I do need to go here in a second, too. So
okay, so just give us a little bit of a wrap-up. Have there been any new developments with your legal case or anything like that?
No, I have a special meeting at the beginning of October. I have to sit down with my attorney, the prosecuting attorney, and a judge that's not residing over my case. It's the judge that's residing over my case is Judge Herod, Herrod, Maricopa County. But I have that meeting coming up, so I'll talk to you about that after I go to that meeting. In our last conversation, you told me that you didn't quite trust your lawyer. Is that still the same lawyer? It is. Well, that seems like a problem, no? It's a very big problem. Actually, Jason, I need to go. Can we cut this off like right now? I need to run. No problem, Michael. We'll talk to you. No. Don't worry. You take care of it. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Have a great day, man. Thanks for joining me. My guest has been Michael Barden. Michael's a targeted individual, and I really hope that people will consider purchasing a hat
from eBay. If you're in the market for a vintage hat, Michael runs an eBay electronics store called Hats Around the World. And if you don't need a hat, but you still want to support Michael, you can go to patreon.com. He's got a Patreon page there, and it is patreon.com/Michael J. Barden, and you can find him right there. We've got one sponsor on Patreon, so hopefully people will join Michael. He's sharing invaluable information with us here. It's shocking at first, but the more we delve into it, the more we seem to be learning. So I hope that people will support Michael. You can also follow him there on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel where he's sharing tons of videos, and that is simply Michael Barden on YouTube. Let's help him get his subscriber numbers up. And of course, at 6:30, we're going to have a free preview of the intelligence assessment with Kevin Shipp. That's going to be on YouTube, on Periscope, on Facebook, on VK.com, on DLive, on Gab.ai, and then of course Kevin's going to be sharing an in-depth deep dive into the possibly duplicitous Bob Woodward. This is going to be a really interesting episode, so I hope that people will join me on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You can also get that exclusive live stream of the intelligence assessment with Kevin Shipp by going to patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp with 2 P's. So please join us there, and thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you at 6:30, just 1 hour from now.